I'll speak for myself. I didn't love the first day of school. The summer was over, and I was like, first day of school. But if you think about it, the first day of school wasn't so bad because the actual first day, because you didn't really do that much on the first day of school, right? It was a lot of orientation, a lot of talking. You got your textbook when I was younger. For those of you who don't know what textbooks are, they're actual books that were they look like books, and you open them, and there were pages in them. So we had to carry them, and I remember that we got them, and you added your name to the list in the cover. Right, and so you had to. It was like, and then we moved to the next class, and it was like the next book with the thing. It was like the first day of school, but I was like, I didn't really do anything, so it's not so bad. It's the second day of school, because that's when it's everything. That's the whole thing. You're the book with the name in it, the whole thing, and then the first chapter, and so So it was all business. It was all boom, and so if we think of last week's Torah portion to this week's Torah portion, it's sort of like the first and second day of school. It's like and so last week we got the Torah, like the Ten Commandments. It was like Revelation. If you were here last week, you heard the sound actually. There, do you hear it? It was amazing. It was incredible. But this week, we have fallen to a Torah portion called Mishpatim. And Mishpatim mean laws. Laws. Last week, this week, laws. So, first day of school, new textbook. Second day of school, laws. But what's interesting is that Mishpatim are only a kind of law. There are actually two kinds of laws in the Torah. There are certain laws called Mishpatim, which is this week's Torah portion, and certain laws called Chukim, which is a fun word to say with your throat. So, Chukim. Chukim. You sound really not so good. So, good. Chukim. It was a little better. All right, good. Okay, good. Well, I'm just going to stand here until we get it right, and then I'll just say Shabbat Shalom, and we'll be done. So Chukim are the laws that God gives us that are because I told you so. It's the stuff that you were really annoyed with your parents when they said why, and they just said it's because I told you so. Stop. So those are Chukim. Those are the laws we get from God that are you're just going to do it. I really can't mess with it. We really can't change anything. You're just going to follow it. You're just going to follow it. Sort of like Shabbat, for instance. Shabbat is a chuk. God says you're going to do the Sabbath, so every time the Sabbath comes about, look, here we are. We do Shabbat. Mishpatim are this word I've been waiting to use, malleable. They're like you can play with them a little. They're a little bendy. In this week's Torah portion, some include if you own an ox and the ox gets loose and kills someone, then you have to pay for the losses of the death. If that same ox then kills someone again, then the ox gets killed and so does the owner. So that's in this week's Torah portion, for instance, because it's sort of like, well, you have to determine what the kind of ox is, right? There's like a law in there you can sort of play with. Another option, another one of the Mishpatim, the laws that fall in this week's Torah portion, is if you leave a pit open. You dig a pit, you leave it open, and someone then falls into the pit, right? So, ouch, in the pit. Whose fault is it? The last guy who was supposed to cover the pit was the first guy. Should we have dug the pit? The pit shouldn't be here. Was it lit? Sort of like the rotunda. So, and there was also this whole section about money lending. So all of this is in this section of laws that we can sort of talk about and discuss. And so I want to bring to you a very interesting thing that happened this week, actually, regarding Mishpatim, laws that can be bent a little bit And then from maybe that bending and learning, we can maybe come to this interesting and new place with it. And so I don't know if you know this, but on Sunday, a law was passed in the Israeli government regarding the Western Wall, regarding the Kotel. And so the law is that essentially there will be an egalitarian section to the Western Wall. Not just the one that exists now, which is to the right of the Western Wall, in what's called Robinson's Arch, which exists, but there's actually going to be, and they're going to build it over the next 2 years, an actual section where you walk through the plaza of the Western Wall, if you've not been there before, and you'll walk into the plaza, and then you'll have an option to go to like the more orthodox side if you've been there before, or you'll have a chance to go to the egalitarian side and actually pray together, men and women in the same place, as opposed to two separate areas. So this passed week in Israel. And so I just wanted to read to you from an organization called the IRAC, not Iraq, but the IRAC, which is the Israel Movement for Progressive Judaism. It's sort of that's essentially what it's the Israel version of progressive Judaism, if you will. It's the Israel Religious Action Center. That's what the IRAC stands for. So history was made. The Israeli government has agreed to give unprecedented recognition to reform and conservative Judaism at one of Judaism's holiest sites, the Western Wall. For decades, Israel has given full religious authority to the Kotel, to Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox. This is about to change the reform movement and conservative movement and the women of the Wall. And the Jewish federations from around the world negotiated a deal that was publicly announced and approved. The decision will create a permanent and official, fully egalitarian space at the Kotel, at the Western Wall, a space where men and women will be able to pray together without gender barriers, where women will be able to read from the Torah and wear prayer shawls and wrap tefillin, and where families will be able to celebrate bar and bat mitzvah ceremonies and other events together at the Western Wall. The decision also designates the plaza of the Kotel as a public space that is no longer under the official exclusive Orthodox control. This will put an end to the sort of what troubles a lot of Israelis, the embarrassing spectacle of male and female soldiers that weren't allowed to do certain ceremonies together. Because they couldn't be together. So the plaza now is going to also be egalitarian. And this landmark decision gives expression to a fundamental truth that there is more than one way to be Jewish. That there is more than one way to pray. That there is more than one way to connect to Jewish traditions and to Jewish identity. And so on this exciting day, this is what was written on the 31st. As we take another step towards full equality for all Jewish movements in Israel, we recognize that our struggle for full equality in marriage, conversion, burial, and other life cycle events for Reform and conservative Jews in Israel now continues. And so the last part they said, which if you know anything about the woman of the wall, says that the victory was made possible by several people and entities and places and organizations, but particularly to Anat Hoffman, who for 27 years has been at the forefront of creating these a Women of the Wall, to be able, and she has been celebrating with women on the women's side, but it's through all of her hard work. And so I think this is a living, current, biblical example of a mishpat, of taking a law and finding a way to properly and through education and through learning and through study and through opening the eyes of people to liberal views on things to move forward. We have taken, not a chuk, not one of the laws that's I told you so, but a mishpat where it's malleable, that we can learn from. I want you to know that clearly certain bodies in Israel are not happy with this. Shockingly. Oh my goodness. And so the vote, by the way, was 15-5. Five of them, two included two people from the organization called Shas, which is the farthest right-wing Orthodox that exists. They're not big fans of us. Not really. I believe they actually came forward today with a statement that they're still appalled by this and said that next the Reform Jews will have ceremonies with their cats at the Western Wall. So I'm trying to think of a cool name for it so we can do it with them. And so there is one other slight issue, and if you read some of the articles that are coming out about this, that it's almost as if the concept has shifted slightly, because now there's equality, there's religious equality, but that still the women of the wall can't pray together on the original sort of Western Wall. So there's still some sort of pushback that this is only the first step. That we haven't solved the issue, but step by step and slowly. I hope that we can sort of realize this very important moment in Reform Judaism and see that together, when we come together as a Reform community, not just here but in Israel, we can really affect change. And we can really make these Mishpatim, these laws, more plausible and more connective to us as the Jewish people, and not just for Reform or Conservative or Orthodox. And so I wish all of us on this Shabbat to follow the rules. I mean, the rules are important, particularly in the Torah and in the way that we govern ourselves. But to understand that sometimes when we're really connected to something and it's important to us, and when we get to these Mishpatim, we have a chance to be a little bendy, to have a discussion, to learn from one another in an open and smart way. And so, in doing so, we'll continue to be able to do this. And so, we'll find that sort of perfect spot where maybe that second day of school isn't so bad. Shabbat shalom.